Cheers, folks. It's Friday night, and we're going to talk about Jehovah's Witnesses. I never thought I would be sitting in Germany, in Berlin, sipping whiskey. It's a bourbon, and talking. It's a rye. It's a rye. It's a pseudo rye. It's a Jim Beam rye. Jim Beam has an addition of kind of like a little bit better whiskeys, which I like. I don't like the normal Jim Beam, and this rye is really good. Although it probably could be rye-iger, have more rye in it. But anyway, it's good. It's a good American rye. So I never thought I'd be sitting in Germany talking about Jehovah's Witnesses and praising them. By the way, Jehovah's Witnesses and I go back a long way. I was a Mormon missionary. Before I left the church, I came to Germany as a Mormon missionary, and of course Mormons, or Mormon missionaries, fight a lot, or like to fight, at least in the beginning, with Jehovah's Witnesses, because we were we're kids, 19, 20, 18 years old, when we go to, and we have a couple of months of training, and we learn, certain verses from the Bible and certain things from the Bible as arguments, as things to back up principles that we're talking about. And then on the street, at some point on the street, you're always going to meet some Jehovah's Witness. And these guys are, of course, Bible fanatics. They love the Bible, and they're always talking about Bible verses. And so we start fighting with them, and they know everything. And the Jehovah's Witnesses, I think Christian churches in general feel threatened by Mormons because they all know about what's wrong with Mormonism. What's all the evils of it's a cult, and you believe this and that, and everyone knows. They've all been told all the things that are wrong with Mormonism. I wasn't told as a kid what was wrong with Jehovah's Witness. It's true that I was told in the Mormon Church what was wrong with Catholicism, but all the other churches got away. We're not. We weren't trained to dissect their doctrine. But everyone knows if you're a believing person, a believing Christian, you are threatened by Mormons more often than not, and you know what the Mormons believe and all the wrong things, and you have some kind of Bible verses to prove to the Mormons that what they believe is wrong. And so when we as Mormon missionaries, we'd meet Jehovah's Witnesses, on the streets, and we're fighting over the few souls in Germany who, want to be saved, right? And in all of Germany, 80 million people, maybe 2 people are looking for some kind of religion. And the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons on the street, Mormon missionaries on the street, are fighting over those 2 souls. And so the Jehovah's Witnesses come with, some kind of Bible verses to prove that what we believe is wrong, and we have good Bible verses to prove that they're wrong, and disprove their arguments against us, and it goes back and forth, and we call it Bible bashing. And when in the first year of your mission, when you're on a mission, you really get into Bible bashing, because it's you want to be right, you want to prove it, and you're sure that you're right, and you have the right Bible verses until you bash them, and they bash you, and then after about a year or so, you realize, this is fighting, it's bashing without any result whatsoever. It's, nothing comes of it at all. No one convinces anyone of anything. It's all, it's just waste of time and energy. It's outrage. It's like an artificial outrage. Like today, in politics, the left and the right, they're bashing each other, and they have this emotional high, and this, but I'm so right, and these guys are and they're so convinced of themselves, so convinced that the other side is wrong. But in the end, the leftist is going to vote for the left, and the right guy is going to vote for the right, and the world is going to keep going on. And the only thing that's happened is that they've expended a lot of energy. They've given off a lot of heat, like Einstein's energy, you give off heat, right? And maybe you stop time, and, around these time flowing past around these Mormon and missionary and Jehovah's Witness guy, Bible bashing each other kind of expands as it passes through them, and then it continues on time continues on than normally. But the heat of the energy giving off of all the outrage and the anger and the righteousness and the I'm rightism, changes briefly the flow of time, but just by giving off so much heat and energy. I think that's probably what happens when Jehovah's Witnesses and more missionaries engage in Bible bashing. And I did it, quite often. Actually, I'm the guy. I'm the kind of guy who likes to be right, and likes to argue and rhetorically argue with other people and prove that they're wrong. And Germans have a great word for it, Rechthaberei. It's having rightness. It's Recht is right in the sense of being right. It's also in the sense of right is right and left and righteousness and justice, and so it has a lot of meanings. But right means also being right, and haben means having the right or being the right, and erai is kind of ness, so it's having the rightness, being rightness, and it's true. It's an emotional high, and like masturbation, it just does actually nothing for you in the end, but as Mormon missionaries, we did that often, and so we got to know the Jehovah's Witnesses a little bit, on close terms, and we got to respect them as formidable, opponents, and but anyway, so yeah, well, now I'm kind of trying to be funny, but in fact, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, 8 Jehovah's Witnesses were murdered by a former Jehovah's Witness in Frankfurt. It was a mass shooting. A guy walked into a church house. They don't call them church houses, but it's a house of worship or Bible study, and I guess killed 7 people, one of which was an unborn child. So the mother, killed, and then killed himself with a gun. And he was a former Jehovah's Witness. I don't know the details. I read an article about it on the website of a television channel, which is the state-run or the state-financed television channel, ARD or NDR or something, and so I wasn't going to talk about it. I mean, I have nothing to do with the Jehovah's Witnesses and mass shootings. It comes and go. In Germany, they come and go in Germany as anywhere else, as in America. Although we do have more in America, got to say that. But they have them in other countries, and I didn't want to say anything. But then I got to thinking about my Bible bashing days with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and there's a lot, actually, those are my speakers turning off. There's a lot to respect about Jehovah's Witnesses. People don't know that. But I actually respect them. I mean, they can get really annoying, when they're at the door and they want to talk about Jesus Christ and all that, and they have these funny, the newspapers they have with this very naive art of the lamb and the lion lying down in the Garden of Eden and all that, and waiting for the last days and how they've several times in the last 50 years, 100 years they've sold all their possessions and waited on the roof for the last days, and the last days didn't come, that kind of thing. Okay, so it's easy to make fun of them, but you also have to respect them. And the reason is because during the Nazi time, the Jehovah's Witnesses in Germany during the Nazis, they don't believe in voting. They don't believe that normal humans have the right to organized states. Only God is the master of us and governs us, and so they don't believe in the same. I mean, they pay their taxes, but they don't vote because of that, and they don't join the army because they're pacifists, so they will not go to war. And of course, during the Nazi period, that got you into trouble. They were thrown into concentration camps, and they did it willingly. It wasn't like the Jews where you couldn't stop being a Jew, right? Or the communists where they're going to dig out your party membership of several years ago and throw you in a concentration camp, or you write some kind of communist pamphlet, so they throw you in a concentration camp. It's just because it's if you as the Jehovah's Witnesses, if you wanted to survive, you could just say, I'm going to make an exception and go to and join the army, or let myself be drafted into the army, because I don't want to go to the concentration camp. But they didn't do that. they didn't believe in it, and so they didn't do it. And very few people had the guts and the determination and the clarity of what they believe in to do that. Very few stood up to the Nazis in any way, whether going to the army or resisting. There was very little resistance in Germany, and most of the churches, the big churches, Catholic churches, for the most part, there were some exceptions, but for the most part, they played along, But the Jehovah's Witnesses did not. They went to concentration camps instead of betraying their faith, and I admire that. There we go. An ex-Mormon says he admires the Jehovah's Witnesses, and these are the guys you make fun of all the time. They knock the door. They're holding their newspapers out in the street corner, and you make fun of them, and they're all stupid, and they're all idiots, and you're much better than they are, and they're all deluded. But they did what's right, and I suspect that you and I would not have done what's right. Okay, so just thinking about the Jehovah's Witnesses today because of this. And, I'm sorry, of course, that anyone would get murdered in mass murder. But and it aggravated me the way they were handled in this article. In the article, it was kind of a typical article. Well, there are several articles, right? There was one about the actual shooting, and there was one as who are the Jehovah's Witnesses, and there was for background information, right? Okay, so I read the background information. I wanted to see what the German state-run television or state-financed television was talking about this cult, right? It's a secta in Germany, and it was all true, but there was just some kind of a tendency in it, this kind of a disparaging, kind of a condescending descendancy, and they talked a lot about not too much, but quite, it was they talked about how experts say, these are unnamed experts, and there's no example, but experts say that the sect has totalitarian tendencies because they put a lot of weight, a lot of focus on obedience. Okay, so it's a totalitarian. This is Germans talking about a church, calling a church a sect totalitarian, right? And and I'm just thinking, why is that necessary in this in the context of this background information to name some kind of experts, unnamed experts, talking about that it's totalitarian. There's never been any proof or any, there's no, why would they be totalitarian? What the fuck does that mean? I mean, every church expects obedience to the laws of God, right? Every church, the Muslims are super obedient. Orthodox Jews. Imagine a newspaper in Germany talking about Orthodox Jews. Who are the Orthodox Jews? Well, they're a totalitarian sect because they demand obedience to the Torah. Well, how would you, if you wrote that, you would lose your job. But of course, because it's the Jehovah's Witnesses, you can say that. And so they write disparagingly about the Jehovah's Witnesses in a state-run, a state-financed website the website of a state-financed public broadcaster, which we finance with our taxes, and which is the upper echelons are the leadership is chosen for political reasons by people in power, and it's a state. It's not, the Germans bristle when you call it state television, but it's close to the state. It's very close to the state, and it's financed by the state, by German law, by taxes, and of course it's also supervised by and the thing is, with this kind of thing, there is no separation of church and state in Germany. It is the German tax office takes church taxes from you and gives it to the church. So you don't donate a free will to the church. if you're a member of the church, whether you go to church or not, whether you want to give the church money or not, the state tax office will tax you for being a member of the church and give them money to the Catholic Church or to the Lutheran Church, whatever church you're in. And only those two churches, only the main two churches. So it's the two churches that are close to the state. If you're a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness, they don't do that. But they will. They do collect money for the churches, and the churches are in the school system. They have religious schooling, religious classes, religion classes, run by Catholics or run by Lutherans, by Lutheran seminars, by Lutheran theologians, and that's financed by the state, by tax money, and et cetera, et cetera. And it goes on and on. And the state television has a supervisory board where you have various people on the board who represent various classes of society, including the business association, board of commerce, and the church is on that board too. So if you say something, against the church in a news broadcast, you will get a call the next morning from this guy on the supervisory board, and he will talk to you, and you have a right to say it. And of course, they try to be, Germans generally, and journalists especially, try to be kind of secular and non-religious, because they're better than that. They're better than religion, but they're going to get that call, and so in these kind of articles, it reflects the views of the two main churches of Germany. The two main churches of Germany are, if you that's where you go, where you say, I have to find out something about who are the Jehovah's Witnesses. So you go to the Department of Sects, of cults, either at the Catholic Church or at the Lutheran Church, and you ask them, tell me all about this, and they'll tell you about this. And they'll say, well, totalitarian structures, because really? Well, we should maybe warn our readers and our audience about these totalitarian structures, so they don't get involved, because these are bad guys. That's right, they're bad guys, and you should tell the people. Yes, absolutely. And they do that about the Mormons too. That's why I'm getting upset, because they do that. I ran as a Mormon missionary. When I was a Mormon, I ran into that all the time. And there's this state-supported propaganda against any Christian church which is not Catholic or Lutheran as a cult or a sect, and as somehow dangerous and evil. And it's just a tendency that the journalist in this article tried to be fair. He tried to be objective, but he didn't ask himself, why is it important to mention that some expert, whatever expert, that I don't know who this one, when this was written, was he debunked? Who is this expert? When was this, to write that he thought that there was there totalitarian structures in that? And what does that mean? Is there, the Jehovah's Witnesses have been around for a long time. Are they trying to subvert the state? No, they don't even vote. Are they trying to take over the state? No, they don't believe in the state. How are they totalitarian? What is, none of that is asked in the article, but it has to go in there, because we got to warn our good Catholic and Lutheran viewers that anything, if you wander a little bit away from the fold, the Catholic and the Lutheran fold, it's all dangerous and dark out there. It's all don't think outside the box. Okay, well, you see, I'm still, I'm still that missionary from, what was that, 30, 40 years ago? Okay, so anyway, my recording dropped off there, so I have a little cut, but anyway, I am getting back into my mission traumatized me so much that I keep fighting it. I keep going back and fighting it. Returning to my missionary days. I didn't mean to get upset about that. Oh, and by the way, I had the most charming phone call this morning I got from a bookstore who wanted a copy of my book about leaving the Mormon Church, about how I lost my religion. It's called Losing My Religion. It's available in German and English. And the bookstore had an order for the German copy, and apparently I'm still registered with the central distribution of books in Germany, and as it being in print, and it's available on Amazon. But I don't have any actual physical copies in German anymore, so I can't send copies to the bookstores because it's so long ago. It's several years ago. No one's really interested in it anymore. But although I do get some sales on Amazon every once in a while. But early in the morning, I got a phone call and said, "Who is this?" And she said, "This is a Buchhandlung, this is a bookstore." And I said, "Who, what? Do I have it?" Yes, I'm looking for a copy of Losing My Religion. I said, "Oh my God! Well, that's great news. That's best news. I sold one book, but I didn't have a print copy of the book because I'm not sending out print copies of the book anymore. And I just forgot to say that it's out of print, and so." And so I had to buy a copy of my own book from Amazon, and it'll be delivered tomorrow or Monday. And then I have to send it on to the bookstore and then send them a bill for less of the price that I paid for Amazon. And they will, and so I'm losing money on this one book. But I'm still happy about it because it was so nice that, someone ordered this book. It just made me happy. Someone walked into a bookstore and said, "Do you have this book?" And the book said, what is that? And she called me. She did the work. She called me. It's someone is going to be making €1 somewhere, and they called me for the book. So I'm going to be losing, €4 or €5, and she's going to be making €1, and some guy is going to read the book, and I'm grateful for that. And I hope he enjoys the book, whoever this guy is. That was a good, and of course that's the theme. Losing my religion, about my times as a Mormon and when I was on a mission and all that, and I don't have any scenes in the book about Bible bashing with the Jehovah's Witnesses, but I wish I did. Now I wish I had some fighting with the Jehovah's Witnesses scenes in there. It didn't happen that often. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but. When I think about the theology of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and this is the thing. When I started going on my rant, before I recorded this, I go on rants and think about the Jehovah's Witnesses, and the difference between the Jehovah's Witnesses and other churches, or difference between Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons, is that the Jehovah's Witnesses belong to a certain part of Christianity which takes the Bible literally, and there is a word for this. It's not fundamentalism. I think maybe even literalists. They're literalists, and the Seventh-day Adventists belong to that. I think the Christian Scientists belong to that. There are others, and they believe that the Bible is literally the Word of God, not rhetorically, not inspired by, not spiritually, etc., but it's literally the Word of God. So this is where you get people who believe that the world is only 5,000 years old because they can count the years in the book of Genesis, and they believe that God literally created the earth in 7 days, and they reject evolution. Those are the literalists within Christianity, and most of Christianity today, and I in my experience, Mormons, that includes Mormons, are not literalists. They look at the 5 days of the creation, 7 days of creation, and they think, well, what do you think about that? It's a metaphor, and. I think some parts of Mormonism take it literally, but the way I grew up in Hawaii with a father who was a engineer, and other people in our church who were, academics and things like that, we didn't take it literally. We talked about it as metaphorically, and I had discussions on my mission with my other companions about this, and we talked about, is it literal or is it metaphorical? And from discussions like that, you think about it, why would God want to give us a book of history? Why would God say, it's important for you to understand physics, so I'm going to tell you exactly how I created the world. This is chemicals and the Big Bang. Why would he say that? Why would he say how I created the world? That's not his purpose to teach us physics or history. It's his purpose to teach us how to live, right? And so he would try to inspire us with parables and metaphors for what life is all about. And that's what the story of Adam and Eve is, very much so. I see absolutely a metaphor for life and living in that story. Okay, but you can take it as you want. So I take it as a metaphor. Most Mormons, I believe, do. Some may take it literally, and Jehovah's Witnesses and others, they take it literally. And of course, they pick and choose among the Bible, like everything else. They pick and choose the Bible, what's literal or not. And the Seventh-day Adventists will say, well, it says here, do not eat pork, so we're not going to eat pork. And it says here, the God rests on the seventh day. And so now we count the week starting with Monday and Sunday. Starting on Sunday and Saturday, the seventh day, last day of the week. So we go to church on Saturday. And Saturdays, and so okay. So they pick and choose on what kind of things they're going to take literally and make a part of their doctrine and their gospel. But I wondered often since then why people do that, why people take a book. And I mean, a part of this is because I write, right? So I'm interested in literature, and I see the book as a piece of literature, and it's a beautiful piece of literature. What I keep coming back to, I cannot get away from this book as a piece of literature, and the stories in it. I keep in my mind, I keep reinterpreting them and looking for the what it's saying and what it could say today and what it may have said yesterday, and all that kind of stuff. As I approach it as a writer and as a person who loves literature, and I wonder why people take it so literally. And of course, it's obvious. It's because life is such a scary place, and we need something to hold on to, and we need something to make sense of it, and we need something, even if it's just we're just kidding ourselves, or even if we, it's just it comes and goes. We want something that tells us this is right, this is wrong, and this is the meaning of life, and that's not the meaning of life, and this is what you're supposed to be doing in life. That's your purpose in life. We need that. I need that. Everyone needs that, and I believe you're kidding yourself if you don't need that. I believe in the dumbest, the high school jock who is overprivileged and all the girls love him, and he doesn't have to do anything, to get what he wants because he's good looking and he's strong, and everyone loves him, and the high point of his life is the 4 years of high school. Even this guy, what we would call him today a douchebag or a frat boy or something. Even this guy who has no reason to think about life. There's something in the back of his mind, in the corner of his mind somewhere, there is this fear and insecurity of this life that, it's just, it has no, we don't know what this is. We don't know why we're here, and then we're going to die. And this is the most frightening thing in life is life. This is terrifying. And we get used to it, but that's like Stockholm syndrome, because we don't have any choice. And so part of us just slips over. It says, we're afraid of life, and click. Oh, I love life. Oh, life is wonderful. You're kidnapping me. I'm your hostage. Oh, you're such a nice guy. That's what it is. It's Stockholm syndrome. Loving life is Stockholm syndrome. I'm being a little sarcastic. I know, but I'm trying to say. It really is terrifying, and I get it when, the Jehovah's Witnesses say, here in the Bible it says, whatever it is, you shall not, go to vote, you shall not take a blood transfusion. I guess that's the Jehovah's Witnesses, they do blood transfusions, right? And so, therefore, they are crazy. They're just trying to hold on to something. They're just trying to figure out this life, just like you and me. And I see no difference. You don't, are you any better? Am I any better? Do I understand life more than? No, I don't. There were, all the Nazis who threw these guys into concentration camps. They thought they understood life. They thought they got it. They thought the Germanness was the big thing and the good thing, and everything else was bad. And we have to defend Germanness, and that's it, Germanness, and that's the answer. They weren't right either. So who am I to say that Jehovah's Witnesses who I do not agree with, and who sometimes will get annoying if you talk to them for more than 5 minutes, are wrong or stupid or silly because they are looking for some meaning in their lives? Well, friends, I hope you do find meaning. whatever it is, if you do, hold on to it. It's precious. And I wish that to all of you. I wish you all a great week, a great weekend. It's Friday night. Enjoy yourselves. Have a nice weekend. You deserve it. You earned it. And I wish you all the best for all your lives.